Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our installation of Global Professional Free Webinar. Thank you all for joining and stay with us till the end. My lovely audience, today I am your host for the afternoon. My name is Hirani Saktar and I am from Bangladesh. Dear audience, I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member. I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. It's my delight to welcome you all to our institution of Global Professional Free Webinars. Thank you all for joining us today in this marvelous afternoon. And it's my humble request and pleasure to all of you stay with us till the end. Institution of Global Professionals serves student and community resource, providing holistic social work and educational for critical competent generation. IGP is a leading and online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. Institution of Global Professional is an educational institution provides social work with globally recognized. We organized our webinar training offline online courses is by based and trained speaker and coaches from all the world. Our mission is to empower people. We have already completed 1012 webinars successfully. Let me remind you, don't forget to tag, share and mention your friends. Uh, Now we start our webinar. So let's watch together and learn together. Our today webinar number is 1030 and our webinar topic is Etiology of Juvenile Delinquency and its preventive measures. And today we have our speaker. Our speaker name is Dr. Clary Kaplan Pikeli Tichan. She is from Philippines. She is Criminology Department, Mountain Province State Polytechnic College, Bontoc Mountain Province from Philippines. Let's now we welcome our speaker. Hello, ma'am.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Uh, Ma'am, give your some description about yourself. Then you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Welcome,
Okay,
ma'am.
I am Claire Kaplaan Puklilapadjan and I am from the Department of Criminology. I am a faculty member at the Department of Criminology of the Mountain Province State Polytechnic College and currently the program coordinator for the Masters of Science in Criminal Justice Education major in criminology in the same institution. Okay, shall we start this time?
Yes, ma'am. You can.
This time we'll be talking about the etiology of juvenile delinquency and its preventive measures. So there are two simple things that we're going to learn here. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, next slide, please. Na next. Next. There. Our objective this time is to understand the causes of juvenile delinquency and, of course, to comprehend or to understand the measures that prevent juvenile delinquency. Next, please. Okay. However, there are some things that we need to, there are some terms that we need to ponder. First is the age of criminal responsibility. And it is this age or at this stage when a child who is above 15, who is above 15 but below 18 and who commits offenses with discernment. So meaning they knew that what they are doing is right or wrong. Okay? And then of course you also have the age of majority. This refers to the majority commences at the age of 18. So generally the age of majority is 18. However, it varies in other countries. If they say that the age of majority is 20 or 15, so it depends. However, here in the Philippines, 18 years of age is considered as the age of majority. Then we have discernment. It refers to the mental um, capacity to understand the difference between right and wrong and its consequences. So when we say acted with discernment, then meaning the person is has acted or has is has a knowledge about how rightful or wrongful that act is, and of course they know that the their what they're doing comes with a consequence. Okay, and then child in conflict with the law refers to a person who at the time of the commission of the offense is below 18 years of age but not less than 9 years of age. That is our definition here in the Philippines. There. However, in other countries, it may also differ there. So when we say child in conflict with the law, the CICL, this was former known as the youthful offenders. So basically, this pertains to the children who are young, who are of minor ages, and then they have committed an offense. Okay, and then we also have the guardian ad litem. These are the persons who are assigned by the court to look after a child or a person below who is a child who has a pending case, and of course they are to look into the best interest of that person. And then of course we're talking about best interest of the child. This refers to the totality of the circumstances and conditions which are most congenial to the survival, protection, and feelings of security of the child, and most encouraging the child's physical, psychological, and emotional development. It also means the least detrimental available alternative for safeguarding the growth and development of the child. So it's the promotion of the what's best for the child. That's what best interest of the child means. Okay, next, please. Next, can we proceed to the next slide? Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. We will be just having a bird's eye view on the historical background of the juvenile delinquents. So, however, um, the Code of Hammurabi is known as the law for 4,000 years ago, dating 2270 BC, that takes account of many misconduct acts. Some pertains to youth and children. So in the period of the code, the husband was the one in charge with many relationships with his wife and to their children. In other words, in patriarchal society, rebellion against the father, even by adult son, is not tolerated, and and they are punished with severity. Um, there. And then item number 195 of the code states that if the son strikes his father, one shall cut off his hand. So it shows that there is really a consequence for a child to go against the father. Okay, and then we have King Athelstan of England in from 924 to 939. So this king proclaimed that any thief over 12 years shall receive a punishment of death if he stole more than 12 pence. However, the severity of such punishment was eventually to provide that no one under 16 could be put to death unless he resist or run away. So, meaning, even during the ancient times, uh, young ones are being punished if they commit an offense. And however, they do not tolerate death penalty for children, not only if um, or except that they resist. Okay, and then we also have Pope Clement the 11th. He established a center for correction of profligate youth so they could be taught to become useful citizens. And this is also nice. It's because the church was able to accommodate these youthful offenders or the CICLs, and then they are taught good. behavior or good conduct, and then they turned out to be good citizens. And then we also have the Marine Society of England. This was established, or it established a special institution for the reformation of juvenile delinquents. So it's but the same with the goal of Pope Clement. And then the House of Refuge in 1825 was established for juveniles, which was the predecessor of the American Reformatory School. And the development of this movement had the coincident with humanitarian outlook of the Western world at the time, and it emphasized that juveniles should be reformed instead of punished. Okay. So, lastly, we also have the Anglo-Saxon law. It practiced to accept the proposition that children under certain age, usually 7 years, were incapable of distinguishing whether their actions were right or wrong. And the reputable presumption that a person between the ages of 14 and 17 could not discern the impact of their actions. So it says that the children who are 7 years old may not know the consequences of their actions. However, um, persons with the age bracket of 14 to 17 years old may know what is right or what is wrong. However, they do not know the effect or the impact of their actions to other people or to the society. Okay, next slide, please. Let's now talk about the nature of delinquency. Incidence of the delinquency accelerates at the age of 13 and peaks at about 17. This is what other authors say. And the prevalence, how widespread youth crimes is in the society of different kinds of offending at each of the percentage of persons initiating and uh, determinating determination at about age 18 or 19. So it says here, the infancy. We have infancy, early adulthood, middle childhood, early childhood, the childhood, and the adolescence. So in the infancy, this is where the influence of the mother is very crucial. So it covers the period from birth to 30 months. Physical needs predominate in the young baby. So he makes his wants by crying, kicking, and flailing his arms. So from such treatment, the baby accomplishes his first development task, a feeling of trust in others and his environment. And the trust lay the foundation for later self-confidence and friendliness towards others. If, however, the baby is not loved and given a sense of trust, if he feels unwanted, rejected, he may develop serious maladjustments, ranging from frightened withdrawal from social contacts to aggressive, um, hostile attacks on physical environment and people. Of course, as the child grows, he gains a degree of autonomy, which he usually grasps early. He learns to walk, feed himself, talk, control elimination, pull on his clothes, carry out simple tasks, and obey simple commands. His mother is still his chief teacher, and her most effective method is the child's desire to please her because he is still dependent upon her and still needs her love and protection. So during this process, the mother's role to love, understand, and guide the child into his role. If the mother is not able to do this, the child has difficulty controlling his behavior. And uh, the mother may already have rejected the child and hence destroy some of his desire to please her, or she may use methods of training that are harsh, that arouse the child's hostility and resentment. So the child may then continue his violence, reactions towards his parents or teachers. So as he grows older and stronger, he may become a threat to the safety of younger children or even his mother. That's why one of the rampant problems we have in primary schools is bullying, and maybe we can understand the bullies better if we are to look into the background of the family. Okay, and the next stage is the early childhood. This ranges from 30 months to 5 years. The child not only obeys his mother to please her, but also has learned the rudiments of right and wrong as taught by his parents. So even when they are not present, he is beginning to conform to their standards of right and wrong. So he has beginning of a conscience, although it is primarily a reflection of what the parents stands for. Nevertheless, the child's facade of personal control and social adjustment has weakness. When he is thwarted, emotions run high but subside quickly. Of young child, it has been in flash of anger. If his strengths were equal to the job, there is still doubt that he will kill without compunction. Okay, and then we also have the next stage, which is the middle childhood. The age bracket for this is 6 to 13 years. One of the tasks of the middle childhood is to learn rather quickly what the public expects. Failure to conform brings marked disapproval. School and public tolerance may of misbehavior rapidly declines as the child grows older, larger, and louder. By the end of this period, the child normally has acquired the basic skills of reading, handwriting, spelling, and arithmetic. Middle childhood and some adolescent delinquency is the result of excess exuberance on some occasions when moderate exhilaration is expected. So the public um, as times for time for high spirits may accept Halloween, New Year's Eve, or evening of certain ball games. Carried away, children and teenagers may go excess with property damages and injuries to each other or to anyone who gets in their way. Okay, and the last stage is the adolescence. Um, the age bracket for this is 13 years to adulthood. Um, the achievement of sexual maturity. Ayun. In here, there is already the achievement of sexual maturity. And of course, however, sometimes there is a period of lack coordination. And then this is the time when the youth is physically equal or superior to the adult but is socially subordinate. Adolescent delinquency may grow out of delinquency in the middle childhood, or may develop from social stresses and dissatisfactions of adolescents. Other adolescent delinquency may turn the boy toward a criminal future. So, the masculine role may develop through a delinquent peer group or in the shadow of a successful adult criminal. So, at this stage, it's either the environment or the people that surrounds the child or the adolescent will may determine the future of that person. Okay. Next slide, please. Okay, we have here the stages of delinquency. The first here is emergence. At this stage, the child begins with petty larceny, and authors say that the age bracket for this is usually from 8 to 12 years old. There. And then we also have exploitation. The child moves from shoplifting and vandalism. There. The age bracket of this is from 12 to 14 years old. And of course, moving as they grow older, they would learn other skills and other uh, their their needs increase, of course, and of course they also their criminal tendencies would also tend to level up. The third is explosion, substantial increase in the variety and seriousness of acts, and this stage ranges. has yeah uh, at this stage the person is already 13 years old. And then we also have conflagration. At around 15, four or more types of crime are added. So it's not only serious acts such as um, robbery. Maybe they already know how to hold firearm and of course threaten other people. And then the last is outburst. Those who continue in adulthood will progress into more sophisticated or more violent forms of criminal behavior. So if at these stages, at the early stage, for example, in the emergence or exploitation, that act is not corrected, then of course there's a tendency that the bad behavior will increase, will intensify, and of course it may get out of control. Okay, next slide, please. We also have here, let us also look into the pathways to delinquency. The first is authority conflict pathway. It begins at early age with stubborn behavior. This leads to defiance and to authority avoidance. It's maybe because the authorities are very harsh. Authorities may include the law enforcers and of course the teachers in the school. And this is why it is actually not right to uh, to to threaten or to ask the police or to mention the name of a police officer or the word police if the child misbehaves. Or for example, you would ask the child to keep quiet. It's because you will be asking the police officers to come and or the security guard to come and take the child out. Okay, or to it's because the police officer may imprison or put the child in jail. Okay, that's not good. It's because of course the child would develop a negative impression about the law enforcers. And the next is covert pathway. It begins with minor underhanded behavior that leads to damage to property. This behavior eventually escalates into a more serious form of criminality. And the last is the overt pathway. It escalates to aggressive acts beginning with aggression and leading to physical fighting and then violence. So it's just a thought that out of this, the pathways to delinquency, that um, the basic the basic disciplines that we teach our children at home can actually um, be made or be broken in the environment. Okay, it's because we may teach them the right thing. However, what others teach them outside, if we are not watching them, may uh, may supersede or may give a shadow into the good things that we are teaching them at home. Okay, next slide, please. We have here the juvenile delinquency tendencies. First is malicious. This refers to the expression of defiance. So if you ask a child to obey and then the more that he cries louder, then that is considered as defiance. So we have to be more creative, of course, and then we are to explore on how we are going to pacify the tantrums of a child so that he will not turn out to be that malicious. And then next is negativistic. This tendency refers to the changeable attitudes like not being satisfied in status. Okay. Um, at an early age, we usually in lower grades we usually give the children, our children, juice and the sandwich for school. However, as they grow older, they would see other children uh, buying from the stores or from the canteen. That's why we also have to give. Um, money for them so that they would also choose their juice or the drinks that they would want. However, if we do not explain why we have to give our children a certain amount uh, of money, which is just enough for their snacks, then they would think that that is negative. It's because they are not satisfied on what they have. Okay, and sometimes it's because they are not satisfied with, for example, the cell phone that they are using is not that is not a high end. Then maybe um, there is a tendency that they're going to steal just to suffice that desire for a new or a better mobile phone. Okay, and then we also have non-utilitarian vandalistic attitudes like graffiti. That's why in other schools and other public places they have freedom walls. It is where um, it is where children or the youths or people will bring out, or they are going to express their thoughts or feelings on the freedom wall. That is also to um, avoid the not on that is to avoid vandalism, so that they would not write on any walls. And then the last is hedonistic, doing bad things for pleasure. In Sometimes we have what we call, in the Philippines we have what we call trip ko lang, or it's just that I just want to do it. That's it. Okay? And then however, if that's not controlled, then uh, definitely it would escalate. Okay? So for example, um, they just wanted to get a stone and then use that stone to draw a heart on the car. Then of course the owner of the car would get angry because that's a form of vandalism. Okay, and if that person is just doing that for pleasure, it's just because he just wanted to not to express, not only to express his feelings, but to hurt uh the the owner of the car, or to take revenge against that owner of the car, then that is already a criminal, or sorry, a juvenile delinquency. Okay, next slide please. This time, let us now look into the causes of juvenile delinquency. First is, next slide, sorry. Okay. First is we have to understand family structure. Anyway, I would have to give a disclaimer about this. Is because some of the authors would say that this is correct. However, the other authors say that the theory is not at all times applicable. Um, okay, so for the family structure, understanding the family structure, for example, the child's birth order in the family and the family size, would give us a an understanding or an idea on why um, these juveniles uh, are created or are developed as, or why these people were molded negatively. Okay, child's birth order in the family affects the delinquent behavior, with delinquency more likely among middle children than first or last children. The first child receives individual attention and affection of parents, while the last child benefits from the parents' experience of raising children, as well as from presence of siblings who serves as models. In some cases, the delinquent is the first or the last child. So I don't know if some of you would agree. However, um, I, being the first child, the firstborn among us siblings, is that I always tell my siblings that you have to, they are quite lucky because um, because uh, they are not the first child who would carry the burden. Uh, I say this is because I know that being a first child, you have to be the mother and the father at the same time if the parents are away. And of course, you are also given the responsibility to take good care of your younger siblings. Okay, and of course, it's uh, um, it's a theory, or it's a general assumption, or it's an assumption of many people that the last child is quite the spoiled one. It's because maybe um, the last child has already the siblings, and they do not just depend from the mother, from their parents. And um, it's because, for example, if they need a water, they would not wait for their mother to give them the water. However, they have the older siblings to help them or to assist them with their needs. Unlike the first child, who should stand, or who should do things on his own, most especially if the parents are away. Okay, and we also have here the family size. So parents in larger families tend to have more difficulty in disciplining and supervising their children than do parents with smaller families. Some parents delegate child rearing to older siblings, who may not be equipped to execute the task, of course. And larger families are exposed to illegitimacy, poverty, and overcrowding. Um, Okay, it's maybe because in when there are many children in the family, the parents should work double time to provide the food on the table, or to put food on the table. And of course, with that situation, uh, they are not the parents are not always there to look into the needs, or to take good care of the children. So it's now the responsibility of the older children to look after the younger ones. What I'm pointing out here is that if there are lots of children in the family, it may be good or bad. However, that depends on the status, of course. If the parents have lower income, then they have to work overtime, and of course, by doing that, they will not be able to look into the needs and correct the behavior of their children. There, I'm not saying that having many children is bad, or having one child is the best, or there. Maybe uh, it has also something to do with time management of the parents, so that there will be a balance between um, correcting, or facilitating the growth of the child. Okay, so that's it. Can we proceed to the next slide? Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Relations between parents and children. This is also important. We have here the relationship between parents and children. Of course, family rejection and discipline in the home. So, um, family studies found a significant relationship between parental rejection and delinquent behavior, and some are being rejected by their parent. As a result, they are deprived of one or both their parents through abandonment, hospitalization, divorce, death, or intervention of public agencies. So, according to John uh, Bowlby, even a short absence on the part of the mother could have serious effect on the psychic well-being of the child. And a child who is deprived of her mother goes into three phases. We have here protest, despair, and detachment. Um, when we say protest, this is when the child cries and screams for the mother and clings when the mother visits and howls when she leaves there. Um, maybe we have observed this or experienced this, that um, the if the parent is, if the child knows that the mother is leaving, it's either that they're going to cry. And of course, if they come back, then the child would run into the mother and hug her, and of course that shows a good emotion, or they are happy, meaning the absence of the mother is affecting the child. And okay, second here is despair. After a few days, the child becomes withdrawn and sucks the thumb. This is if the parent is away for quite some time already. And then, of course, the last is detachment. The child loses interest to parents and is not concerned about whether they are around or not. So they got used to being alone. That's it. That's why this is one thing that we should not be tolerating our absence from home, because the children, we know that our children would need us and they would be happy to see us, of course. And then if we are to tolerate them, they will not care anymore if we are there or not, or they might as well uh, copy what we are doing, that we are always away from home. Okay. And discipline in the home is also a factor in shaping the relationship between the parent and the children, or the parents and the children. It says here, inadequate supervision and discipline in the home have been commonly cited to explain delinquent behavior. And the type of discipline employed in the home affect delinquent behavior for trippy and punitive, lax and erratic discipline, inalis ka please. Okay. Um, we also have here the three types of home that breeds three types of behavior. First is a loving, friendly, and just home that breeds a conforming behavior. So a conforming behavior is developed from a loving, friendly, and just home. It says there. And then the second is a loving, liberal, and open-minded home that breeds critical behavior. There. Um, and the last is a loveless, lonely, and problematic home life that breeds delinquent behavior. So it's up to us if we are going to to change or to suit our types of or the style at home, so that we are to breed good children, or we are to breed delinquents. Okay. And then it says here, quality of home life. The poor family home life measured by marital adjustments and harmony within the home. There. So it's suggesting that the quality of home is dependent on the on the effort that the the parents would give uh, to the children. So I mean, if the parents are have a good relationship, if the mother and the father are having, or they have a good relationship, then definitely it would also show that their children will have a strong relationship with the parents, and of course to other. Okay. And then Next slide, please. Okay. Uh, Anyway, we have here parental authority, and this includes the rearing and caring of children for civic consciousness and development of their moral, mental, and physical character and well-being. And of course, it also refers to the mass of rights and obligations which parents have in relation to the person and property of their children with emancipation and even after under circumstances. So, um, the quality of home would depend on the relationship of the parents, of course, and how they treat their children. And of course, it also depends on the parental authority or the degree of parental authority that is given by the parents to the children. Okay. Now let us proceed with the categories of children. We have dependent. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay, we have here the three categories of children: the dependent child, the abandoned child, and the neglected child. So the dependent child is one who is without a parent, guardian, or custodian, or whose parents, guardian, or other custodian for good cause desire to be relieved of his care and custody and is dependent upon the public for support. That's the dependent child. It means that the child is relying from the public for survival. And then we also have the abandoned child. This child has no proper parental care or guardianship, or whose parents have deserted him for a period of at least 6 consecutive months. This is uh, lifted, or this definition was lifted from the Presidential Decree 603 of here in the Philippines. And the abandoned child also refers to a child who has no proper parental care or guardianship, or whose parents have deserted him for a period of at least 3 months. This is according to the Republic Act 9523 of the Philippines. There. So, what's common here in the definition is that the abandoned child is a person or is a young one um, who was abandoned, and of course he has no proper guardianship from maybe the ward, or the I mean from the parent or from other guardians. And the last is the neglected child. He is a person whose basic needs have been deliberately unattended or inadequately unattended within a period of 3 months, or continuous 3 continuous months. And the child is unattended when left by himself without provision of his needs and without proper supervision. So, if the child was left alone at home with no one there to look after him or her for a period of at least 3 consecutive months, then that child is considered as a neglected child. And of course, there are lots of arguments about this. Others would say, what if the person is living in another place or renting a boarding house or there. So of course, the definition um, the definition of a neglected child or abandoned child would depend on of course the binding laws of each country, and of course it depends on the situation. Okay. Okay, so let us now talk about the it says here neglect may occur in two ways there. First is the physical neglect, which occurs when the child is malnourished, ill-clad, and without proper shelter. Of course, the neglect is outrightly obvious, or the signs of neglect on a child is obvious if you see that he is already skinny there. That's the physical neglect, meaning, or if that person or if the child is improperly dressed there. So for example, it's summer but then the child uh, is wearing a jacket, or if it's a winter, the child is wearing shorts and sandal there. And we also have here the emotional neglect. This occurs when the child is maltreated, raped, seduced, abused, exploited, overworked, or made to work under conditions not conducive to good health, or made to beg in the streets or public places, or when the children are in moral danger or exposed to gambling, prostitution, and other vices. Those are forms of emotional neglect there. Um, uh, Next, please. Anyway, we will have other discussions about that later on. Next slide, please. Next, next slide. Can we have the next slide, please? Anyway, um, when we say emotional neglect, um, we can uh, we can see this if the child is disrespectful. It's because the child is starting to detach himself from other people. It's because the sustenance or the sustainability of the emotion that he needs or she needs is already cut, of course, um, from the parents, and that can also be shown to other people there. And then okay, this time let us talk about the categories of children. We have the disabled children or the disabled child, the mentally retarded child, and the physically handicapped child. So disabled child includes mentally retarded, physically handicapped, emotionally disturbed, and mentally ill children. Children with the cerebral palsy and those inflicted with similar afflictions there. And we also have the mentally retarded or the mentally challenged. They are socially incompetent, um, socially inadequate, occupationally incompetent, and unable to manage their own affairs. They are mentally subnormal, of course, and essentially incurable there. Uh, However, there are lots of ways on how to deal with these types of children so that they will not become delinquents. But then it's still a fact that in other countries the needs of the mentally retarded children are not sufficiently provided. They are seen as bad people. That's why they are kept in cages or they are isolated from other people. Meaning they are not receiving the right treatment, and that can also lead to or that can also trigger the aggressiveness of these children. Okay, anyway, the physically handicapped child refers to the crippled, deaf, mute, blind, and other conditions which restrict the means of actions or communication with other people. So it's if the child is unable to communicate and, of course, to uh, be more mobile, to move around, that's what is meant by physically handicapped. Next, next slide, please. Okay. The categories of children: the emotionally disturbed child and the mentally ill child. Um, so when we say emotionally disturbed child, those who, although not afflicted with insanity or mental defect, are unable to maintain normal social relations with others and the community in general due to emotional problems or complexes. It may be caused by traumatic experiences. That's why usually if the a child is a victim of sexual violence, then it's they become very delicate. It's because we would not want to trigger their emotional trauma. And of course, the mentally ill child are those with any behavior disorder, whether functional or organic, which is of such a degree of severity as to require professional help or hospitalization. As I said a while back, there are still communities who do not want or who misunderstand the mentally ill child, and then they treat the children differently. They are not giving the child the proper need and the attention that they that is supposed to be given there. And of course, that would lead to uh, it's because they are not properly handled, then it can lead them to become delinquents. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, after having learned or understood the causes of juvenile delinquency, let us now look into how we as individuals or as members of the community or the society or our profession would prevent juvenile delinquency. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next. Anyway, um, okay. We have here the institutions that prevent juvenile delinquency. First is the home, second is the school, and then we have the church and, of course, the community. So, at home, we say that the home is the cradle of human personality, and for in it, the child forms fundamental attitudes and habits that endure throughout his life. And in fact, the kind of conscience that a child develops largely depends upon the kinds of parents one has. And they are the persons who give the child love, attention, guidance, security, standard, and all other things he needs um, there. And then, next, please, next slide. Okay, thank you. We have here the 8 conditions that we have to consider for the child's good home. First is the child needs love and wanted to know it. So it's not enough for us to say that we love our children. It's proper for us to show how we love our children. Okay, he is helped to grow up by not having too much or too little done for him. Of course, we want to train our children to be independent someday, because we will not always be there for them. And of course, it would have an impact if we do everything for our children or if we do little for them. Um, there is no need for me, I think, to lecture about that, because we all know the implication of this, that if we spoil to spoil the rod or to spare the child there. Number three, he is part of the family and he has fun with the family to which he belongs. Of course, not being around, or the presence of the parents is not enough for the child needs the parents for uh, uh, the child needs the parents to have to play with, of course, so that they would enjoy quality time together. Okay, and then the fourth is that his early mistakes are understood as a normal part of growing up, and he is corrected without being hurt, shamed, or confused. So harsh punishments at home um, is of course discouraged, most especially if the children are young. It's because it's a part of their uh, growing up. They It's because they have to commit mistakes for them to learn that what they are doing is wrong. They have to be punished for that, however, not too much. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide. Can we go to the? Okay, thank you. Fifth, his growing skills are enjoyed and respected. We don't need to be stage moms or stage fathers to show them this. It's just that of course as the children grows, um, they would develop their skills, and of course they would be respected. And if the child writes using the left hand, we should not discourage them to write with their left hand, and of course force them to write with their right hand there. So you let us just facilitate them so that they would develop the skills that is inherent in them. Okay, six, he feels his parents care as much about him as they do about his brothers and sisters. Of course, there should be equality and equity, or equal treatment in the family. There. Seven, the family sticks together and helps each other. There, meaning no one should be left behind. The struggle of one should be uh, mended by everyone. Number eight, he is moderately and consistently. This is the last one. He is moderately and consistently disciplined from infancy. Limits are set for his behavior, and he is helped to take increasing responsibility for his conditions. So again, we we have to make sure that we have to limit uh, the the desires of our children, and of course we have to make them realize that they have responsibilities too to take care of. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. The school. Okay. um it says there, for next to parents, the teacher stands as foremost in the influence over human behavior. In simple words, the school serves as our second home. There, it is because um, it is the strategic position to prevent crime and delinquency. For the school receives the child, observes, supervises, and teaches him for many hours a week during some of his impressionable years. For next to parents, there um, is the school who I mean, the child is spending more time at school, of course, than at home. And of course, the school has the influence. It can uh, it can they do not only teach the child intellectually. They do not just promote knowledge, or promote awareness about all the things that the child has to know. However, they also help shape the behavior of the child. So if at school there is bullying, then definitely that would be carried home, or the behavior or the trauma, for example, would be brought at home. And of course, if at home the child is receiving the same treatment, or he is harassed or bullied, then definitely the child would perceive it as normal, and he would also do it to other people. Okay, next slide. Next slide, please. Okay, so we also have this the church as an institution that would prevent delinquency. The church shall mean the local government together with the society of individuals or institutions, both public and private, in which a child uh, lives. Men and nations have come to realize that they cannot live without guidance, sustenance, and inspiring power of God. Religion, with its emphasis on moral and life highest spiritual values, the worth and dignity and respect for the person and the property of others, generates powerful forces in opposition to the crime and delinquency. So, the church plays a vital role in preventing delinquency. It's because constantly the children are reminded of how good behavior would be rewarded, and of course how one should act according to um, to the principles, or the canons, or the tenets of their respective religion. There, we know for a fact that some of our laws are based on our on religion, on our religion. However, of course, there is no such religion or church that would say that uh, killing is good, or stealing is the best way to escape poverty. I believe that all churches would encourage, or are encouraging their congregates to be faithful, to be more strong, and of course to have the courage to surpass all the difficulties in life through positive ways. Okay, next please. Next slide, please. The community. Can we go to the next slide? Okay, so it says here, it takes the whole community to raise a child. Um, it's because we have here the duties of the community. First is to bring about a healthy environment necessary to the normal growth of children and the enhancement of their physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. So in the community, we have the law enforcers, we have the school, we have the church, and of course, we have the whole neighborhood that would help the child outgrow their differences, and of course their negative attitudes. And second is help institutions of learning, whether public or private, in achieving the fundamental objectives of education. And promote the establishment and maintenance of adequately equipped playgrounds, parks, and recreational facilities. This is why we have government and non-government organizations in the community to help who are helping each other to put up a good environment for our children, and then support parent education programs by encouraging its members to attend and actively participate therein. For example, the Parent Teacher Association. Okay, aid in carrying out special programs for the betterment of children in the remote areas or belonging to cultural minorities or those out of school. So if the if there are less of youths who are unable to attend the preschool, then we have outreach programs that would promote literacy. Okay, and cooperate with private and public child welfare agencies in providing care, training, and protection to destitute, abandoned, neglected, abused, handicapped, and disturbed children. That is the role of the community. So through the duties of the community, the delinquency is the offenses committed by juvenile delinquents are curtailed. Okay, so our last topic for this session or for this discussion is about the theory or the related theories to juvenile delinquency. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, we have here differential oppression theory. John D. Hewitt and Robert Regoli proposed that much serious juvenile delinquency is a product of the oppression of children by adults, particularly within the context of family there. And the maltreatment of children has been found to be highly correlated with both serious and moderate juvenile delinquency as well as other problem on behavior. So this theory assumes that adult perception of children forces youth into socially defined and controlled inferior roles, including the socially constructed juvenile delinquency role that separates youthful and adult offenders for treatment. So that's it. And then the class conflict theory, according to Richard Quinney and William Chambliss, this theory is based upon the view of the fundamental causes of crime and are the social and economic forces operating within the society. The criminal justice system and uh, and criminal law are thought to be operating in behalf of the rich and powerful social elites with resulting policies aiming to control the poor. So this theory is actually emphasizing that the justice is only for the rich people and the laws are used to control the poor there. And as a result, the middle class opted to slide with the rich, thinking they might themselves rise to the top by supporting the status quo there, leaving the poor people behind. So for the poor people, they believe that they cannot achieve justice. It's because of this. The justice only is only achieved or is only given for the rich people. Okay, and of course, because of that observation, there are delinquents who belong to the lower class who are practicing or they do not want to abide with the rules and regulations of the land. Okay, next slide, please. Differential opportunity theory. Okay, this is among my favorite theories is because it borrows or it always gives the concept of tell me who your friends are and I will tell you who you are. Okay, so the delinquent subculture, according to Richard Gloward and Lloyd Olin, flourish in the lower class and take particular forms so that the means for illegitimate are no more equally distributed than the means for legitimate success. And according to Cloward and Olin, there are types of delinquent gangs. The criminal gang, which emerge in areas where conventional as well as non-conventional values of behavior are integrated by a close connection of illegitimate and legitimate businesses. Older criminals serve as a role models, and they teach necessary criminal skills to the youngsters. And we also have the conflict or the violent gang, non-stable and non-integrated, where there is absence of criminal organization resulting in instability. And this gang aims to find reputation for roughness and destructive violence. So it's how they earn their name, through violence. And the retreatist, i- it is equally unsuccessful in legitimate as well as illegitimate means. They are known as double failures, thus retreating to the world of sex, drugs, and alcohol. It's because they cannot survive in criminal gangs and conflict gangs. They cannot do the modus of those gangs. Then they retreat to, or they resort to, alcohol, drugs, and sex, of course. So it's an easier way out, and an easier way to give them a name, or to earn a name. Okay. We also have here the ADHD. Next slide, please. Or the attention deficit hyperactive theory. Um, this This is an immaturity and hyperactivity caused by juvenile delinquency. Grade school usually experience attention deficit hyperactive disorder, which is characterized by the following. First is short attention span. Of course, you get their attention for 2 minutes, and then they do not want to write anymore after 2 minutes. And then they always daydream, which is normal for little kids. And then sluggishness, they do not sit up straight, and of course listen to the teacher, for example. And then preoccupation means that they are thinking about their snacks, or about the next subject, or about the toy that they left at home. Okay. And then impulsiveness, um, uh, which means that the the person may that be impulsive the about their actions. Okay, next slide, please. We will be discussing three more theories, and then we will be ending the session. Okay, differential association theory. It asserts that the criminal behavior is learned primarily within the interpersonal groups, and that youths will become delinquents if definition they have learned are favorable to violating the law exceeds the definitions obeying the law within the group. So um, it basically points out that the attitude of one person can be adapted by the other person within the group. Okay, so we also have here the social learning theory. This theory views that behavior is modeled through observation, either directly through intimate contact with others, or indirectly through social media, or interactions that are rewarded uh, are copied, and those are punished are avoided. So for example, mm, uh, if uh, juvenile, or a youth, or a young person would observe the what is going on in the society, then of course there's a possibility that they're going to adapt that, or they will copy it. Um, and if they believe, this theory asserts that if there is an interaction, then they will be uh, uh, rewarded, of course. And however, um, if what what you are, or what they are seeing is being punished, then of course they would also believe that they will be punished for doing such. Okay, next theory. I mean, next slide please, which is the drift theory. Okay. This theory proposed that juvenile sense a moral obligation to be bound by law. Such a bind between a person and the law remains in place most of the time. Where it is not a place, delinquent will drift. Okay, so drift is a process by which an individual move from one behavioral extreme to another, believing sometimes in unconventional manner and at other times with restrictions. So it this theory is explaining that there are people who would bounce from extremely being violent and or two, being violent with the restrictions, or uh, with a bit of um, moderate. There is a moderation in what they are doing, or they are thinking about excuses. Um, we have here the five techniques of neutralization. First is the denial of responsibility. Okay. Uh, Delinquents propose that he or she is a victim of circumstances and that he or she is punished or pulled into situations beyond his or her control. Okay. So when we say denial of responsibility, the juvenile is perceiving, or is understanding, or is trying to explain that um, they just did that is because they committed an offense is because they too are victims. Okay, or it's because they were provoked. And then next is denial of injury. Delinquents supposes that his or her acts really do not cause any harm, or that the victim can afford the loss or damages. So when we say a denial of injury, it's simply saying that the juvenile is uh, is quite explaining that the damage or the injury that he caused is not that fatal, or it's not enough to kill a person. That's why he or she must be forgiven. Okay, denial of victim. Another technique is that delinquent views the act as not being wrong, that the victim deserves the injury, or that there is no real victim. This is seen and this is most usually observed in gang fights, wherein the both gangs will of course hurt each other, and then one would say that the other is provoked, or yeah, one would claim that the other provoked them, and then the claim of the other side is that they are also provoked. Okay, and then that they would say that they have to forget about that because there is no victim actually. And then um, next slide please. So those are some of the techniques of neutralization in the drift theory. Okay, and I want to end uh, my insights through this thought about a challenge to all government agencies such as the Bureau of Fire Protection, Bureau of Jail Management and Penology, and other law enforcement agencies. Um, and of course the equivalent or the counterparts of these agencies in other countries, to support and strengthen programs on youth development and empowerment. In one of my classes, I I asked my graduate school students to think about the programs that they have in their or that they practice in their respective agencies that has something to do with the promotion of youth development. And then it's good to know that most of the agencies here in the Philippines are supportive or are inclined to um, child welfare. Okay, so I am leaving you with this sort of a challenge that what what are you doing in your organization or in your agency to support the welfare of these children, and of course not only to raise them well, but of course to ensure that they will become law abiding citizens. Okay, that's all, and thank you. um,
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Now we'll start our quiz session. To After completed our quiz session, we come back again in our question answer session. You have to wait for some minutes. Okay, ma'am? Do you hear me?
yes, ma'am.
You have After completed our quiz session, we come back again in our question answer session.
Yes.
Okay. Dear participant, it's time for our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go slido.com, then you have to enter the code, and the code is IGP2. After short video, we will start our quiz session. So please everyone join in our quiz session. وعلى آل سيدنا مولانا محمد وآله وسلم. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة والصلاة القائمة آت سيدنا محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة والدرجة الرفيعة وبعثه مقاما محمودا الذي وعدته وارزقنا شفاعته يوم القيامة إنك لا تخلف الميعاد برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Dear person, it's time for our quiz session. To join this session, you have to go www.slido.com. Then you have to enter the code, and the code is IGP2. We will pick your name from Slido, so join with your full name, which will directly print on certificates. And top 10 will be awarded with quiz completion certificates. Already 17 people join in our quiz session. We are waiting for your joining. So please everyone join in our session early. Now start our quiz session. First question, etiology. Uh, a story that explains something's cause or origin. Second option, the second scientific study of the material remains of past human life. And the correct answer is first option, a story that explains something's cause or origin, and 44% people are right. Now we go for our second question. Name that etiology. Is it Coxsackie A strain? Second option, Coxsackie B strain. And the correct answer is Coxsackie A strain, and 74% people are right. Our third question, etiology of necroviruses. First option, Fusobacterium necrophorum. Second option, Escherichia coli. And the correct answer is option 1. Now go for 4 question. Identify the etiology of this lesson. First option, run to the tissue. Second option, chronic friction and tobacco use. And the correct answer is option 2, chronic friction and tobacco use, and 50% people are right. Now we go for our fifth question. The etiology of this lesson is first option, blood disorder. Second option, blockage of the salivary duct. And the correct answer is second option, blockage of the salivary duct, and 63% people are right. Now we go for our sixth question. Identify the etiology of these lessons. First option, human papillomavirus. Second option, human herpes type 1. And the correct answer is second option, and 30% people are right. Now we go for our seventh question. Etiology of OSA includes first option, enlarged tonsils, microlosia, microgranthia, divided septum, and retrogranthia. And second option, only macroglosia and macrogranthia. And the correct answer is option 1, and 95% people are right. Now we go for our eighth question. What is the etiology of this condition? First option, free-fitting denture. Second option, too much peanut brittle. And the correct answer is option 1, and 75% people are right. Now we go for our eighth, ninth now question, which is not a primary etiology. Is it classic valve disease? And second option, Marfan's syndrome. The correct answer is second option, Marfan's syndrome, and 30% people are right. Now we go for our last question. What is the most likely source and etiology of the infection? The first option, the cat Staphylococcus aureus. Second option, the cat Pseudomonas aeruginosa. And the correct answer is second option. And 35% people are right. Congratulations, Flami Raghav Salvio. He is our top ranker. In second position, Joel Barnasser. In third position, Jimena Bisabeno. And in fourth position, Maria Janipi. In class fifth position, Jordan Joy. Congratulations, our top 10 course competition winner. We have all of your name which you entered during joining. Will pick and prepare certificate and will post them on our Facebook official page. Our Facebook official page is Institution of Global Professional. Your participant. Now we go for our question answer session. Participants are requested to ask their question in the comment box. Please address speaker name. After question and answer, we will share certification process. এখন এবার কোচ হয়ে গেছে তো সব ঝামেলা ট্রাই করতেছি।
Mhm. 16 to 19.
Dear participants, we are sorry for we have faced some technical problem. Uh, Now start our question answer session. If you have any question, you can ask in our comment box. Hello, ma'am. Welcome back in our question answer session. Hello,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Hmm, yes. Ma'am, our first question from Flomi. Good afternoon, ma'am. What is the best strategy in preventing juvenile delinquency? Delinquency.
Okay. So in the Philippines, we have lots of laws that would protect the interest of a child. Okay, and of course, to control the behavior of children. Among those would be anti-smoking and the anti-gambling and all sorts of laws. We also have international laws that would cover the or that would provide for the protection of children. However, for me, it delinquency should be prevented in the basics of the society, such as the home. Okay, so if there is discipline in the family, if discipline is instilled to a child, of course, and if the child was reared um, uh, morally, uh, if the child was has a good rearing, rather, then whatever culture that is, whatever religion may be there is being practiced, then the child would grow up to be an abiding citizen. And of course, that is how juvenile delinquency would be prevented. And of course, that is if everyone would try to understand, to look for the problem, and of course be part of the solution of to be part of the solution, or of course to cure whatever to it's not only to cure the pressing issues, and of course to address the problems. That's I have one question, two answers for that. First is a proper rearing, and second is a discipline. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Our second question from Princess Joy. Hello, ma'am. The previously mentioned factors such as inadequate parenting abilities, family size, it's all have an impact. Whose responsibility is it for the children living on the streets?
Okay, so in the Philippine setting, if the child is abandoned or neglected, then the local government unit would or should take good care of the child. However, in other countries, I believe that it's the same. It's the responsibility of the state to look after these street children there. That is if they are abandoned already, or meaning they are not they are no longer living with their parents. However, if they are, even if their families are living on the streets, then that is supposed to be the lookout of their parents, but with the facilitation of the government agencies, such as the social welfare and development agencies.
Okay. Uh, I think there is no more question. Uh,
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. On behalf of ICP, our profound thanks for taking out time from your busy schedule to present slides about that everyone sitting there was fascinated by your presentation. Those slides given everyone a great idea. I would like to offer you thanks for your information and your precious time. I think everyone can learn from your presentation. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank, thank you so much too for all the attendees, for all those who participated in the quiz, and for the IGP. Thank you also for this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. Dear participant, now it's time for to give you webinar code. Our, our today our topic is and the code is IGP2895 and the code is IGP2895. Today our webinar code is IGP2895. Dear participant, today our webinar code is IGP2895. Thank you everyone for your active participation. I hope everyone can learn from our webinar. See you again in our next session. Till that, stay happy and blessed. Thank you so much, everyone.